this episode of the Weird Obscure World podcast.
I have been abducted.
Wait, what?
Their main forms they take are reptilian entities.
So many questions. On to the main show.
Okay.
We'll have so many more questions, I'm sure.
So, last week we talked about Operation Midnight Climax, which was a part of MK Ultra.
Right.
Now, some of the projects in MK Ultra were Project Bluebird, Project Artichoke. Those were like the mind control structure. So you have MK Ultra, which is the headline. Bullet point 1 says mind control. Sub bullet point says Bluebird, and then next bullet point says Artichoke.
Why Artichoke and why Bluebird?
I don't know. There's Project Naomi.
Maybe he was just eating an artichoke and he was like, next one we call it Project
It
Artichoke.
could be. Ultra just means top level of secrecy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So MK Ultra is scary. So we're going to go to the end of World War II.
Okay.
You've heard of Operation Paperclip, right?
Yes, I'm super interested in that. Are we going to talk about that today?
Well, we're going to touch on it. We're not going to do a full Paperclip show.
I have so many questions about who was a part of that. Did we follow them? Did they do more evil things while they were here?
Werner von Braun.
Was a part of Paperclip?
Yeah. Werner von Braun. Who do you think built the V2?
What? Okay. All right. Keep going.
All right. And then there's excuses made on both sides and accusations and everything.
That it was done in response to...
Well, at the end of World War II, scientists either got nabbed up or ran away from whichever side they didn't want to go to.
Uh-huh.
We got a handful. Russia got a handful. China even got a few. Well, remember how I talked about how there was like a double, triple, quadruple agent man?
Mm-hmm. I want to be him.
Who was like feeding each side?
Just making shit
It
up.
almost makes you wonder if the Nazis, like right before they split, they got into a huddle, the Nazi scientists, and says, all right, let's tell them that we perfected this. Ready, break. And then they ran east and west.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went there, we perfected this, we can do it for you. Now, Werner von Braun, he was a legit rocket scientist, you know. But so both sides are saying it might have been the lead up that these scientists split up, you know. Mengele was he did tests on twins that were shocking.
Terrible person.
Yeah.
He didn't come over with Paperclip at some point, did he? Okay.
No, he didn't. We'd have to do his story one day. It's an interesting story, especially the end. So it makes you wonder if the scientists didn't say to their prospective new governments, oh yeah, I did this for the Nazis and we had this, but my buddy, you know, he was doing the same thing and he went to the other side, which is why the mind control race started out. Oh.
Now, didn't they talk about POWs at some point? We're saying that they were being given hallucinogenic
that comes from
drugs.
The Korean War.
Oh, okay.
And we'll get into that. Okay, so MK Ultra was started by the CIA, and the CIA, there's 180 something different projects in MK Ultra.
Wow.
Now,
the MK Ultra was like 30 years long, right?
Okay.
That's a lot.
It officially started in 1953, and then it was kind of reduced in 64, and then kind of 73 is when they say they halted it. 1973. So
that's like 20 years.
We're looking at 20 years of them running this stuff. Now, there was fear and reports of brainwashing done by the Chinese and the Russians to POWs, to U.S., Turkey, Brit, French, whoever was in Korea, to their POW, to our POWs by the Chinese.
And this was for the sake of getting intel, torture, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
A lot of time it's just morale. They would torture the POW, have him say some bad things about his fellow soldiers or his government, record it, and then mass blast it out, or use that to build up morale of their own people. So, of the projects, we talked about Bluebird and Artichoke. Today, I want to really kind of focus in on Sub-Project 68.
Sub?
Yep.
Okay, I haven't heard of that one.
Which was a part of Artichoke.
I like that name. Project Artichoke.
Now,
I want, like, Project Parsnip.
And the CIA, they ran some of these openly as the CIA, some of them through front companies. Like you hear about how the CIA put money into Google, or you hear the Alphabet Corporation is rumored to be a CIA front company.
Really?
And Google, you've heard of Operation Mockingbird.
Yep.
And that's the CIA taking over our media to propagandize us.
Oh. Do you think that's still happening?
Well,
or do you think that it's kind of taken on its own?
Just on your computer right now, look up who Anderson Cooper interned for when he was in college.
Oh, great. Was it Dulles?
Just look it up.
Anderson Cooper.
Anyways, so Sub-Project 68 was ran by Dr. Cameron. He was paid $68,000. And this was ran in 64. $68,000. That's $600,000 in today's money. He worked at the Allen Memorial Hospital. It's a mental hospital in Montreal, Canada. This is Canada. CIA went into Canada. Here's a couple of the fun things he did. A lady named Linda McDonald went in. They put her in a multi-week, like a 6-week induced coma. And while she's in this, she went in just feeling stressed from being a new mom,
Maybe adult. Some postpartum or something.
Yeah. Well, he said, "You're a psychopath." He told her that, put her in an induced coma, and did electroshock therapy for the 6 weeks she's under a coma. Oh, by the way, Anderson Cooper
was a CIA operative.
He was an intern at the CIA in college.
Interesting.
So
he was trained on a Mockingbird.
So, I mean, tell me, is it still going on or not?
Sure. Has to be.
Okay.
Well, then there's a lot of dissension.
But
that's not this It's story. A whole different story, but yeah.
We'll get into that one day. But so, Linda McDonald, so when she come out of her coma, she was a blank slate. She had to learn to use the bathroom. She had to learn to walk. She might be dead now, but she was still alive as of a few years ago.
They did an interview with her.
You can find interviews of her. She had to learn to walk, had to learn to talk. She didn't remember anyone. Well, they brought her out of it and sent her home. So her husband went through this. There's another guy. He went in. They put him in a coma. He went through total memory loss, and never recovered. They called it the sleep room they would send him to. They put him in a coma and do all this stuff, trying to figure out mind control.
So they would put them they would comatose them, and then they would shock them. And
they would use shocks at 40% higher than is suggested for electroshock therapy. And electroshock therapy has a real bad rap. And I've looked into it. There are some cases where it's worked for certain things. but
I've heard
not at the levels they're doing.
Yeah, I've heard that at really minimal levels, it actually works for some levels of depression and things.
Depression.
Kind of turns things around. But that's monitored in a medical setting and like once a week or once a month.
You watch videos of it, the shock is so light they don't even wince.
Don't even flinch, yeah.
Yeah. There's also reports of children that went in, were taken to the sleep room, and politicians and wealthy members of the community were brought in, and they would molest them, and then they would find out after that they were recorded. This is just a hearsay. Find out that they were recorded doing it, and then they were blackmailed with that recording. So,
wow.
This is how projects like this survive. This is how they get funding from governments. Now, Dr. Cameron died in 1967 before any of this came out. So we can't question him. And then in 1975, you had the Church Committee and Gerald Ford's United States President's Commission on CIA Activities. Those were both started up. And that was to investigate all the reports they're getting about the CIA doing all this fuckery. Well, the director at the time, Richard Helms, he ordered all of the files to be destroyed in 1973. Half of them were destroyed. And then again, right before the Church Committee and the Rockefeller Commission was able to gain access to them, the other half got destroyed. But what we did find was in like their finance department. In 1977, a Freedom of Information Act request uncovered a cache of 20,000 documents relating to the MKUltra project. And then the Senate had another hearing that year. And now in 2001 and again in 2018, a lot of these documents became declassified. And you can actually go through them, and a lot of it's boring, but it sheds light on... I mean, they did crazy stuff. They took dogs and put brain implants in dogs, and they could control where the dog walked, like a remote control dog. But the one that shocks me the most is, well, no, it doesn't shock. One of the ones that shocked, this one stood out to me, was this Sub-Project 68.
Okay.
Where they took them in, put them in a coma so they could wipe their brains clean. And I think that test was, and how many people...
And that was at Allen Memorial?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that's like a legitimate hospital.
It's in Canada.
Yeah, that's a legitimate hospital.
So they crossed borders to try, and they did stuff to prisoners in prison. They did stuff to all sorts of stuff. But this one, there's reports 7 or 8 people come out having stories like this. These two are the biggest one, Linda McDonald, and the other guy who kind of just went vegetable. But how many people did they successfully do it to, and then reprogram and then send them out on the street as their, bidders?
And how do you hold them accountable for these things? Because these
guys are all dead now.
Well, and even if we had tried to back then, where does it stop? Where's the end? How do you hold them accountable?
Sorry, had to put on protection. Always wear protection, folks.
That's right.
My opinion, my personal opinion, if anyone's ready to hear it, is I say the CIA, the NSA, the DEA.
I'm going to need a hat.
The FBI.
You're calling them all out.
I think we need to tear them all down.
But
we need to go back to the Constitution.
That still doesn't hold them accountable.
They're all the guys are dead now.
No, but I mean, when all of this was coming to light and they were destroying documents.
Oh, they're probably all shielded and shielded and shielded. And
Yes,
they
and they've
probably
got
got
so much crap on other people.
censured. I mean, like it took a senator from Idaho to actually field this commission. Church was a senator from Idaho. It took someone from Idaho, from a state that is I love Idaho, but from a state that never shows up in any of the discussions, to field a commission on looking into the CIA. And he was a Democrat senator from Idaho, from a Republican state. So it had to take somebody that they hadn't videotaped diddling a kid or cheating on his wife or any of that, because he was never a blip on their radar.
Yeah.
All the other
He didn't
senators,
exist as far as they were concerned.
They had pictures of him, doing the dirty and blackmail. And so that's what it took.
So we have no idea how many people were a party to this sub-project.
No, because they did it in ways like when we talked about Midnight Climax. They targeted people who'd keep their mouths shut. Guys who went and bought prostitutes. They're not going to say anything.
Right.
So they specifically targeted people who they could get away with doing it with.
I had heard that there was an interview done years. It would have had to have been back in the 70s, maybe early 80s, on ABC, where one of the CIA agents was directly asked, how do you feel about, giving these kinds of treatments and drugs to unwitting civilians? And he was like, well, this is going to sound cold, but it's to serve a purpose, so I feel fine.
Yeah, they don't care. How do you feel? I mean, like, what about when they had that LA school meeting where I think it was the CIA director at the time was Cody was there, and he was called out for bringing and the CIA was called out for drug running.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, Subproject 68. What other one?
Subproject 68. You had Subproject 54, which was ran by the Navy, and that was concussions and brain injuries. And they started out with that using animals, and they would give them shaken baby syndrome, and then do tests on them
to see if they could just rattle up their brains.
Just to see where they were, see if they could program them after that.
Oh my gosh.
You ever heard of Dr. Frank Olson?
No.
He's an Army chemist who went to work for the CIA, still on the payroll for the DOD. They went to a weekend getaway at like a cabin.
Oh, he's the jumper.
He's the jumper.
Oh.
They drugged him. He popped out a window, killed himself. Family left kind of destitute.
Now, is he the one that show on Netflix is based upon, that Wormwood?
Yep.
I wonder how much of that is accurate. Like an accurate depiction, because some of that show's pretty interesting. There's a lot of interviews with his son.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy to think that they would drug their own doctors unwittingly.
Who would give you the best... who would be able to give you the best experience after action review than your own guy?
Sure. Especially if they truly had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But that's a terrible thing. And didn't they give it to one another, like we mentioned on the last show?
Yeah.
It was just like a,
Yeah, surprise weekend or surprise day, Don't know who's getting popped.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's they played with LSD, they played with sodium pentothal, mescaline, psilocybin, scopolamine, cannabis, which, I mean, that guy got fat and No,
Had
probably not.
he had the
They
munchies.
tried hypnosis was a big part of it too.
So, like, with or without medication, or both?
Oh, I'm sure both. I'm sure all of it. I'm sure they tried hypnosis with torture. They tried near death. I'm sure they tried everything. They were no holds barred.
There was a story that I read about. It was France, somewhere in France, where the bread had been tainted with LSD, and it was in such high doses that the people had died. Do you think that they were conducting these experiments all over the world?
There was a story in France from, oh man, you're dipping into Jared's memory now. France had an outbreak of a mold that killed a whole bunch of people, killed the whole town.
Yes.
It wasn't LSD, it was a mold. And the mold got into the yeast or something. And killed.
No, there's a conspiracy that was in direct relations to the CIA's.
I think this was a long, long time ago. I'm not sure. But then, I mean, the CIA did so much stuff. You had the shenanigans they pulled in Greece right after the war. You had what they did in Iran, what they did in Central America. You know, I mean, the CIA, we're griping about Russia, interfering with our elections. There's not an election we are not interfering with.
So there's one here that was really interesting to me, and it's Subproject 119.
Mm-hmm.
And it's back to kind of that dog one. This is the activation of human behavior by remote means.
Yeah. So I think that's what they were trying to do in 68, was trying to wipe the brain, and then they reteach them. But while they teach them, they put a sub-process in. Sub-process is, you pull the gun out and shoot the guy with the red tie when we say, Lilyhammer.
Oh.
And then they work that guy, say they get someone like that who serves food to a dignitary.
And if you look at all of this information that's online, you can actually pull up the receipts. And for instance, this one I'm looking at right now, cash received $13,850.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, airfare, gifts, normal salary, total expenditure came to like $17,500. And this particular one was for Subproject 121, which is the Yoruba witchcraft study. Like, they were really going off the frickin' wall here.
180 projects.
And this Yoruba is the African witch doctor study for the recruitment of promising young Nigerians.
Yeah. So you look at MK Ultra thinking, I'm going to look at this crazy mind stuff. And then you start down the path. You're like, how many? How many were there? Over 180. Spread out over 200 and something hospitals, prisons, corporations.
Yeah, like Columbia University.
Oh, Columbia was huge. Harvard.
St. Francis Memorial Hospital, San Francisco.
The Unabomber.
This one, Subproject 124, is to investigate the possibility of inducing a drug-like state through the simple expedient of carbon dioxide poisoning. What? And you can actually pull up and see. So this is how they were found out.
Well,
all of these receipts came to light. And they're like, okay.
In the finance department.
Yeah. So this receipt says purpose of project, research in the psychological correlation of carbon dioxide poisoning. What?
And they forgot to burn those.
Thank goodness they did. I mean, can you imagine if you never knew about this?
I would actually feel better than I do now.
Yeah, probably.
But I'm hoping that coming to light allowed the victims to get some reprieve. Okay, the guys that went and bought prostitutes, I do feel bad for them, but not as bad as for this Linda McDonald.
The one that was wiped completely
Yeah.
clean of all of her memories.
I mean, she's got a husband and kids.
And kids.
And they just send home a vegetable to them, and they've got to teach her how to live again.
Is there an estimation of how much money was spent on all of these projects?
No.
I mean,
No, I haven't seen an estimation yet.
it's crazy to read. I mean, a lot of it is redacted, but there's still enough information within these documents, these scanned documents, that you can see that, first of all, for 20 years that this was going on, and likely quite a while after that, it was just a conspiracy. People, this isn't happening, you crazy conspiracy theorist. And then all of this comes to light, and the president, Bill Clinton, gets up and he's like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
For what has happened to the American citizen under the MK. I mean, really? For so long this is going on, and then, oh no, it's all in your head, people.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't happening. Look left, look left.
It is insane.
So there's some with methamphetamine.
Mm-hmm.
This one bothers me, Subproject 125. It's a study at the Veterans Administration Center in Martinsburg, West Virginia, where they were dosing people with methamphetamine, 10 milligrams.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I wouldn't. I haven't been around. I mean, haven't been around meth. Have you ever heard of Mae Brussel?
Maybe.
Yeah. Folks, if you're listening, you used to be able to find her on YouTube. She's the first conspiracy theorist radio person.
Oh, that's probably where I've heard her name.
She was a conspiracy theorist in the 70s and in the 60s. And she was this little old lady. Well, she was a housewife, a California housewife. But yeah, listen to her stuff. And so Betsy was saying how you hear these stories and you think, oh, that's conspiracy theory and that's that.
Yeah,
and she was talking about that stuff. And then after she talks about it, it comes out in the open.
Yeah. I think that we find enough of these that it gives some conspiracy theory is just it just seems wacky, but you find enough of these wacky ones, like the CIA owns brothels and they're videotaping and giving people drugs in these brothels to do mind control. Or that from the outside seems like wacky, and then you find out it's true.
Or how about the story that there's a rich investment banker who has a secret island and his own airplane, his own maybe a few airplanes, and he takes the creme de la creme of the politicians down there where they...
Total conspiracy. Would never happen.
Where they have even just receive, massages with happy endings from underage girls. It's just that. That's one that's coming out right now.
Yeah.
And what is going on that drifted away from the news? How is that not on the news every day? The latest thing we figured out about this, or the latest whatever.
Well, now it's the mass shootings.
Okay, I want to take a minute and say, I wish the best for the victims in all the mass shootings. I do. I wish them the best. It's a horrible thing. Got two mass shooters, two sides of the spectrum. I have my thoughts and feelings on why mass shootings are on the rise. But I will say this. There's one thing they all have in common is they all come from broken homes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say everyone from a broken home is susceptible to that, but I am going to say that is a pretty big common denominator.
Yeah.
So,
I think it has to start. I think it all has to start in the home.
Has started the family.
And it has
Everything.
to start really young.
Everything has to start in the family.
Really, really young. Yeah, it's sad. The mass shootings are tragedies.
Yep.
Absolute tragedies. So many undeserving, wonderful people get injured and killed in these. I too have my opinions. I just think that opinions don't matter at this point.
Now, I saw a headline. Now, the FBI has nabbed up susceptible people and radicalized them in the past.
Yes.
The first Trade Center bombing.
Yep.
That guy recorded the FBI providing him the bomb. And then that kind of got covered up. But how... I don't want to make this a conspiracy show. Oh, this makes me feel so gross. But, okay, so I haven't read this story, but they're saying that some young guy was picked up by the FBI and they were trying to radicalize and make him a right-wing guy. And I could, especially after this last election, look, I don't like Trump. I don't. But you can tell from the news and the alphabet government people stacking on and trying to eliminate this president that they didn't want him in there and they were going to lie and cheat him out. And it looked like a coup to a guy on the outside. I am not a Republican. I'm not any of that.
Right.
And it, to me, you know, it looked like a coup. It looked like you had government actors trying to overthrow an elected official.
Yes.
And the media was all about overthrowing him because they had egg on their face because the person they all said was going to win didn't.
Yeah.
You know?
I wish they would spend a hell of a lot more time figuring out issues and a hell of a lot less time talking about character.
How about they just tell me the news?
Yeah. That would be nice. I'm talking about the politicians.
Oh.
The news people just report what's actually happening.
You know, my idea
That's
is
it.
to go back to the original design. Politicians aren't paid to be politicians.
Yeah.
You have a real job outside of there.
Yep.
And then the federal government deals with interstate commerce and defense of national borders.
Yep. And
And
all
then
of the
yours-
laws you enact
Or on state level.
are on a state level and they affect where you live.
Yeah. People you can talk to. People you can
Yeah.
petition. I can't petition some yahoo in Washington, D.C., you know. And that way, if one of them comes up with a screwball idea, it's not going to doom us.
So this MK Ultra goes on for 20 years.
Uh-huh.
Did anything good come from it? Was it just wasted time and money and space?
Maybe there's a Manchurian candidate of ours somewhere. I don't know. I think if that's the price, nothing can be good. You know?
Because I do understand.
If it's shiny, but it's still a shit, it's a shit. You just
Yeah.
polished a shit.
Yeah. I do understand trials and I do understand placebo. And
Had
I
they
do
figured out how to
understand-
get volunteers for that and things like that, I'd be fine with it.
I think the problem with that is LSD. If you tell someone, we do it all the time now. There's pharmacological trials right now where you show up and they tell you this big long chemical name and that the known side effects are the following, but there may be unknown side effects. People sign up for it all the time.
All the damn druggies go running.
The problem is LSD was so little known when they started this project, and probably for the most of the project, it was not a well-known drug that people likely would have signed up. I don't know if that's the answer. I think that the dosage is an issue.
My issue is that they did it to unwitting people.
Yes.
Let's call it what it is. They poisoned civilians. They poisoned civilians they took an oath to protect.
They poisoned some of our army,
Oh yeah.
our not just veterans, but
You
active
ever heard
army.
of the Australian mustard trials?
I have.
You can watch a video of that too. GIs, soldiers and dogs. Yeah, GIs. That comes to be, when I was in,
Just
we did
expendable. Like everyone's just
we
expendable.
did some food tests when I was in. Food and vitamin tests.
Do you think there is parts of MK Ultra still being managed today? You've got your tinfoil hat on. You're protected.
Well, let's just say when they asked the head of the NSA, "Are you spying on the American people?" and he said no,
Yeah.
and he was.
He wasn't personally.
Did he suffer any kind of justice from that?
No.
Really, he didn't. I'm damn sure the CIA is doing some fuckery right now. I'm sure the FBI is. I'm sure the NSA is. I'm sure the ATF was forcing gun shops to sell guns to straw purchasers so those guns went to Mexico. I don't care if you wanted to track them. I don't care. You were still as the government forcing the allowance of violence. At the same time, out of the other side of your fucking head, saying we got to take the guns away from you because you're doing violent things, but we're going to force violent things.
Oh, it all makes my head swim. The idea of how broad of scope. I mean, okay, currently there's chemtrails.
Yeah.
That's a conspiracy.
Yes.
What if 5 years from now there's an FBI document that comes out that talks about population control and this chemical they've been dropping? I mean,
Fluoride in the water.
fluoride in the water is a big deal for me.
5G.
Yes.
What are they doing? What is going on? But I don't want to be a conspiracy. I want to talk about ghosts again.
Ghosts and puppies and
Because at
little
least those I can say, well,
baby
they're invisible. They don't bother me at all. I'm too daft to notice them.
little baby pandas and stuff.
Well,
Okay.
and
MK
next week
Ultra.
on the knitting hour,
Yeah.
we're going to show you how to knit a double bloom polywog.
Are we done with MK Ultra?
God, yes. No, we're going to do one more. One more that's the fun one.
Oh, we have a fun MK Ultra?
Yeah,
Or we're going to make it fun.
We're going to talk about the one that is the MK Super Soldiers, where they used all these things to make Superman. And I think
that
with
one's
this,
not had any funding that's been found so far.
maybe. I think with this one, we've got a couple guys that say they were or are. And I think with this one, we're going to also branch into the Montauk Project and Project Pegasus.
So I love the Montauk Project.
Love it. Love it.
I don't know much about
We
Pegasus.
got Bigfoot. We got
Yes.
an alien couch from a spaceship. We've got imaginary stuff. Pegasus Project. We've got time travel. We've got a president involved. We got all just fun stuff.
So are those considered part of the MK Ultra?
Same time, same bat time, same bat station, same bat organization.
Yeah. And they're nuts.
Yeah, and we have to cover conspiracy because they're weird. We have to cover it. We should, if we wanted to go into foreign conspiracies, we could do that. But we kind of have to cover them. Dang it. I don't like it, though. They make you feel greasy and gross. But everybody, go listen to Mae Brussel. You'll be listening to something that was recorded 40 to 50 years ago, the lady talking about...
Ooh, has anyone double-checked, to see how many of the things? What is her accuracy rate?
Well, I wonder, because she was kind of talked about like another individual who has a deep voice who pounds on the table a lot. She was talked about like him back then. And now she is deified by the left, the people who hate the guy with the deep voice.
Oh, really?
How's he going to be in 30 years?
Oh.
What are we going to look at? Because she was pointing out all the crap that was going on with Vietnam that everyone kept quiet.
Mae Brussel people.
Mae. Mae. Brussell.
So Mae Brussel.
Mae Brussel.
I thought it was Mabe.
Nope.
Mae Brussel.
Mae Brussel. And
check her out.
Mae Brussel. Yeah, check her out. You used to be able to listen to her show on YouTube. And they're kind of fun. She sounds like a little old Jewish lady. It's a fun show. So if you get the chance, listen to her.
She'd be so proud of the NHS. For their little snip.
Oh, man.
A little off the top, please.
Shalom. Mazel tov.
That's a terrible story. I'm going to have nightmares about that.
I'm not. They chose to do that to me when I was a baby. But anyways, yeah. So I've got to go shower now. How long have we been recording?
53 minutes.
We've got to go a few more minutes because Betsy today...
Oh, I'm going to become a Satanist.
Well, don't say that on accident, Yar. God, I have to sit over here now. Anyways, we ought to do a show on Aleister Crowley.
We should.
Oh, he's a fun guy. But anyway, so Betsy, you know how some people see 1111 everywhere they look?
I've had the sign of the devil several times
Betsy
today.
was 666. So we're going to try to drag this show out to 666.
Yeah, so 66 minutes and 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Is what I'm going to try to stop.
So we've got to go how much longer? How long's our intro?
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. You might get a longer intro. Maybe we'll have to put an outro on here too. But anyways.
Or maybe I'm going to try to redeem my devilish ways and go against the grain and do something more holy, like maybe 6-0.
Ooh. Yeah, and sorry for my diatribe on politics today. I try to stay away from that. But I'm getting burned out on it.
Yeah.
I'm getting burned out. I don't care who's the president. I don't care who's the next president. I haven't voted, and I'm not going to vote. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to vote. I don't care who's running. It's all dog shit. Well, let's look at this. Okay. The Church Pike Commission, it took a Republican and Democrat to tear down what the Republicans and Democrats ran.
Yeah.
You know, these abuses coming at you from the government comes from both sides. Yes, some of them say flowery things, but in the end, they're still going to steal your money and take away your freedoms, take away your liberty, not allow you to be a whole person. You're going to have to become one of their little ants in their ant farm. And that's what they both make, both sides.
I think what bothers me the most about these government programs is the complete lack of ethics.
And
humanity.
And that we don't have a guillotine.
Yeah. And there should be, for people like that, just whoop, it's over.
Honestly. Dulles, this other Yahoo, all of them, Helms, all of them. They should have said, "Oh, you did what?" You know, as the guy with the hood on's pulling the rope. Really? Oh no, never mind that. Oh yeah. Bring the basket. The orange basket. The big. Oh, do tell. Oh, you found out what? And then he clips the little pin that holds it in. Here, have a seat. Come on over.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Oh.
Seriously, all of them. All this, you know, and this Dr. Cameron, he should be dug up, flip his coffin upside down, piss on it, rebury him. You know?
Yeah. MK Ultra. Messy business.
This guy, okay, no more unfun MK Ultra shows.
We're going to go with something haunted next week.
Are we?
Yes,
you got something in mind?
Because I'm up. And I'm going to go full on. I did the Dybbuk box.
Now we are recording this early cuz this weekend
we're squatch hunting.
So our show next week might be a squatch.
Oh, and we may have some show and tell. because I'm taking plaster of Paris.
Yeah.
So that
yeah.
we can see if we can make some molds, find some
Yes.
tree
So-
structures.
So if this footprint that they saw like 3 months ago, how many rains ago,
yeah.
isn't still there, and you see me with a stick drawn on the ground, look away, folks.
Yeah. So
We're getting a Squatch mold to come back with this.
one way or another.
It's
No, I want
gonna-
this.
It's gonna happen.
I don't want this to be a fake Sasquatch. If we don't find anything, we just don't find anything. If we do, then we do.
It doesn't matter if it's a fake Sasquatch. The mold, the plaster of Paris, will be 100% real.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm getting a Squatch footprint.
One way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thanks for joining
Oh,
guys.
how much longer we got?
I don't know.
Because we've got to prattle. Okay, Facebook tore down the Area 51 party bus. Humana.
It's back. I see posts
So
from it
it's back
still.
up again.
I
Well-
don't know.
But then people started advertising, I can take this sweaty hat off.
You and your tinfoil attire it's not breathable and wearable.
No. Ooh, tinfoil holds in the heat, people. Yeah. But, do you see me? Have no microwaves or
That's right.
alien intermissions. I would also like to, one day, I would like to get the guy who performed the 2 operations on me to come in.
Oh, yes.
How do we approach that one?
Exorcism.
The exorcism and the removal of the alien implant.
I'm still upset that you removed that.
Okay, well, maybe go talk to him. He
You
might
should have.
still have it
You should have
kicking
said
around.
no. Like the circumcised guy. No. I think I'm going to keep that. Thank
He
you,
was
though.
asleep. Anyways, it might still be kicking around his office. Maybe he'll put it in you. But he did tell me it was from a reptilian alien. So I would like to get him in. Now, the hard part I don't like about doing that is he's a reputable guy in his field. And he's super good at what he does. And then they frosted that cake. They made a chocolate cake of his job, and it's him. And he's a wonderful. He's like one of them soft, spongy, creamy, softy chocolate cakes, right? And then they frosted it with crazy. And don't get me wrong, it's frosted perfectly, beautifully. Maybe put some little frosting flowers on top and a little design. And it said, this cake is, the best at this job, and also will perform an exorcism and remove alien, implants from your knee.
Why the knee?
That's where it was.
They just chose the knee.
I don't know.
Did you have pain in your knee before?
I didn't have pain in my knee then. I had pain in my back.
Did you have pain in your knee after the removal?
No.
I wish I could have been there for this because I'm unsure how you held a straight face.
I wish you could have too. I sat on the table like this, and he, kind of over my knee, kind of.
Oh, he just
Yeah, and he said it's it's a an electronic implant, and I went and I looked at the person who what type of alien?
You asked?
And he said, I was hoping he was going to say the Greys, because this was a few years ago before I indulged myself a little more, and he said, it's a reptilian type of alien. And I went, thank you very much. And then he went into his office. I bit my lip, and the person who was connected to him that I was connected to at the time, big hugs, fist bump, walked out, and then you'd walk down a hallway, walked out to my car, and had to sit in there for a few minutes processing the pain in my abdomen from laughing for the it was insane.
So the person that was in the room with you You know this person?
Yeah.
Like, know this
There was
person?
someone I was dating at the time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. How do we broach that subject? How do we get him in here?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. I would like to get him in here. Maybe he could wear a mask. or
He could be deep throat.
we do it like where we open up the window and you just see a outline, and we have him talk through a voice changer. We could do voice changers with our fancy
We
equipment.
could, yes.
We could do that.
Oh.
But I would like to get him in to talk about it.
Oh.
I just don't know how to broach it. I don't know how.
Interesting.
I'm gonna have to reach out.
Interesting.
I've got to build up the gumption and then reach out.
Yes.
But it was interesting.
Oh.
How many minutes we at?
1:02.
Oh, we got 4 minutes to kill. All right. So we'll add on our thing. That's a minute long. So we are going to be at Area 51. Yours truly is not going to raid said gate. I do not want to get shot or probed.
Do you think that it's still going to have a showing?
I don't know. Either way, I still kind of want to go down there.
Yeah, we're going to be
And,
there.
and I enjoy going to Pahrump. You know, I used to live in Pahrump, and I would like to check the place out. Art Bell. That's where Art Bell lived.
Oh.
So we can go down there, celebrate a little bit of Art Bell, who is a man who I can credit with bringing me the joy of these topics.
Yeah.
Art Bell is the man. He started it. He started on just like a rock channel, and crazy people called in, and
Yeah.
it was his thing. So
Yeah. There's the Atomic Museum. We're
Yep,
going to check it
we're gonna
out. We'll
check
do a
that out.
recording from there.
yeah.
I'd like to cover a show kind of on the peculiar testings that have taken place in that particular area, simply
Yeah.
because some theorists say that if there is alien communication, it is because of the high level of activity,
They noticed
bombing. They
noticed the nuclear bomb. That was the light tower that drew them in from the ocean of space.
Yes. And that's why Roswell and that particular area have had the most alien activity.
Sure,
It's
I'll
because
bet.
it's all correlated.
Because they did lots of testing there.
Yeah.
So that lighthouse had a whoopee light on it. I think we ought to try to record a new intro soon too. Pick
Yeah.
apart some more fun stuff. See what else we can find.
See what else we got.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing some recording from there. We'll be doing
Yeah.
some recording from the Alien Center.
I think you can expect a lot of shows and I mean, that might be a busy weekend.
Just
where
some lives here or there.
You'll see a lot of stuff pop up on Facebook and on YouTube, and we're gonna try to get into all those other new stuff like BitChute, DLive, all these new things I hear about that I know nothing about. Because let's face it, I'm a shaved ape.
Well, semi-shaved.
Well, that's true. That's true. I don't hold still very well.
Anyway, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Everyone have a great week.
Have a great weekend. Be safe. Everything.